Hello and I welcome you all to World Affairs. Now, in recent times, we have seen that India has been given a lot of attention in the Western media. The Western media has almost been obsessed about India's neutral stance. Why is India neutral? Even though it is a democracy and its relations with US and Europe are increasing, why isn't India putting sanctions and pressure on Russia to help Ukraine in the conflict? Now, India has made it clear that we have our own foreign policy and it will not be dictated by Western countries. But let me tell you something. If you thought that buying Russian oil and natural gas was a difficult decision during Ukraine war, India will have to take a much more difficult decision in the near future. Because Iran and Russia, again, if you ask any American, which are the three most evil countries according to you? Most probably they will say Iran, Russia, and China. Perhaps you can switch China with North Korea sometimes, but definitely they will mention Iran and Russia. So these two countries are actually planning to use India to bypass the sanctions that have been imposed by Western countries. As you can see, various articles have been published on this topic, and very soon India will have to make a difficult decision whether we reject this offer of Russia and Iran, or we tell the Western nations that even in this regard we have a neutral foreign policy and we will decide what is best for us. Now, one very basic question that you can ask is, but why would Russia and Iran use India to bypass Western sanctions? I mean, why is Western media already publishing so many articles regarding this topic, even though right now their plans are pretty much on paper, nothing has happened on the ground yet? Well, first of all, you need to understand is that Iran and Russia both have been sanctioned by Western powers because of different reasons. Russia has been sanctioned because of their invasion of Ukraine. Iran has been sanctioned by Western powers because of their nuclear program that they are developing every single year. And if you actually compare both the countries, Russia and Iran, then Iran has actually been under much heavy sanctions compared to Russia. Russia still isn't in the Financial Action Task Force's blacklist, but Iran has been in FATF's blacklist for years now. But both the countries realize that in the future, they will not be able to trade all that much with European Union and US. They need to find new markets. They need to explore new export destinations so that they can sustain their economy. And in that quest, two main countries are their main pillars. One is China and the second one is India. And this is why both the countries will soon depend on the international north-south transport corridor to make sure that their goods reach Africa and Southeast Asia through India. Now over here on the map you can see that this right here is the existing route through which Russia exports its goods. It has to use a lot of trade routes that directly come under Sweden, Norway, Germany, France, UK. Now most of these are NATO nations that do not have good relations with Russia. They have actually imposed sanctions on Russia. So instead of using this European route, what Russia plans to do is they will first make a railroad that will go all the way to the Caspian Sea. After that, it will go through Azerbaijan and then it will enter Iran. And after that, they have two options. They can use Iran's Chabahar port that has been developed by India. It is very important. As you know, this entire port right now is pretty much under Indian control. And then they also have the option of the Bandar Abbas port. These two ports will be critical for Russia to make sure that it can regularly export to not just India, but even Gulf and Africa and Southeast Asian countries. And as these plans begin to shake up in the near future, because these plans will take some time, this is a $20 billion project between Iran and Russia to bypass the Western sanctions. But the Western media is already paranoid about this topic because they think, how can India even think about supporting these two quote-unquote evil nations? Because in their dictionary, in their school of thought, India is now a Western ally. Now, here's the thing. India's Foreign Affairs Minister, Dr. Ajay Shankar, has categorically said that ally, we never use this word. This is not an Indian terminology. This is a Western concept. Because look, in geopolitics, if you have good relations with a country, that nation will either be your partner or your ally. An ally is a much stronger term. An ally will come to your aid in war. It will help you with defense equipment. It will even wage war on your enemy, because this is what allies do, at least in geopolitical context. A partner is somewhat of a loose term. A partner can help you in certain aspects, but also disagree with you in other aspects. So India prefers to use the word partner for both US and Russia.
Would you consider India an ally of Russia?
No, I think India doesn't. We are an independent country. We do not define ourselves or perceive ourselves in alliance terms. That's very much a Western terminology. It's not something. It's not a term that we use.
And this will be the basis, the main foundation of Indian foreign policy for years to come. Because look, even though Western media has consistently published many articles where they have written about a formal alliance with India. Heck, you can see this article by Nikki Haley. She has been the representative of the United States of America to United Nations. She wrote in 2021 that it is time to formalize a military alliance with India. Just like USA is an ally of UK, of France, the focus should be now on India. How do we make India an ally? But this is where India will always disagree with US, that we do not share the same worldview as you. In our worldview, there is no black and white, there are no binaries. And there is a very strong reason behind India's stance. Now, let me give you an example. As you know, China is building its naval might in the Indian Ocean, in the Pacific Ocean, in the South China Sea. And India desperately needs to make sure that its navy is up to the task to at least give China some competition in the Indian Ocean. And for that, we need submarines. Now, what happened recently was one of India's diesel electric submarines that we sent to Russia for some repair work, it's stuck there. We can't get it back because Russian Federation, that is under sanctions, cannot even procure the important equipment, the important parts it needs to repair India's submarine. Our submarine is just sitting idle in Russia right now. And just imagine in the future, if India's arsenal keeps on piling up in Russia's factories over and over, how will that impact India's defense? Now, is US or Europe concerned about this? No, they are not. Heck, recently, as we saw, US even decided to make sure that they will repair and give proper service and maintenance to Pakistan's F-16 fighter jets that they recently used against India. So it is in India's long-term interest that Russian Federation slowly emerges out of the sanctions. It starts functioning again with or without European or Western participation. In order to change the status quo, United States of America will need a pragmatic president, someone who is a visionary, who decides to make a very important 4-year plan in which US will give India some kind of a major financial aid that will replace India's aging Russian defense equipment, and American defense equipment will replace everything. And I don't really see that happening, because for any US president to do such a thing will be a very difficult job. He will have to explain his own countrymen that we need to do this in the long run if we want to make sure that this gigantic nation in Asia, which will soon become the most populous nation in all of the world, we need to make sure that it is pro-US. But I doubt if the American Congress, if their member of parliament will even understand this need. So in the coming few years, definitely you will see this happening. New trading routes will emerge. Iran and Russia will depend on India to bypass Western sanctions. And this right here is the end of the video. If you liked this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to hit the like button. Thanks for listening, and God bless you all.